support. And then this is the days that the students have asked for, or our staff have asked for off. What we do is tell them, go through your syllabus, find out when your finals are, find out when your midterms are, ask for the days before that off. So we go through their schedule, maybe they're eligible to work Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, Friday afternoon, and Monday morning. But on a particular Monday morning, they need off because they have a final the next day or something like that. So that's what all these are, and it's strictly just by first and last initial. All these are events. The coaches will let us know when the events are. Practice, 4 p.m., etc., etc. That way, our students and our staff can go through the entire semester. This is spring break, which is why it's a different color. And this is the girl I adopted on February 14th. We had a little father-daughter day.
Just ignore all that.
Basically, this allows our students to know their entire semester work schedule. If there's a problem, we send it out. If there's a problem, it is their responsibility to let us know. We are 1 or 2 people making the schedule. They are 12, 13, 14 students. They only need to look at their name, we need to look at everybody's. So they can go through the entire semester. For us, finals is staff only. All our students are essentially off. We don't ask them to work unless we absolutely, if something were to come up and we absolutely had to. And even then, we stay away from it because it's finals week. So this gives you a general overview of how we assign our staff to different events. Matt, if you'll scroll up a little bit. Here's when football practice started. We don't put our staff names in there. We're going to be there. Okay? So the initials are only for students there. However, for a baseball or softball game, I'm CC. So you're going to see my initials because that's more of a shooter and a capture guy. So we have a scrimmage, I'm going to shoot, or excuse me, a game, I'm going to shoot. Kevin, KG, is going to be my capture editor guy for every event. And that's how we can kind of stretch. A lot of guys are here and they say, well, you know, I just do football. But I have to go to every staff meeting. I have to go to every single late night meeting. For us, Matt might go to 3 staff meetings, Kevin might go to 3 staff meetings, so neither one of them is charged with being there every day at 7:30 in the morning. And in the evening, I can say, all right, I'm here until the coaches leave. And Matt can leave, Kevin can leave as soon as practice is over. That makes it more doable for us. Now, the bad news is, while the football season gets slightly easier, as soon as football ends, there's soccer. As soon as soccer ends, there's baseball, there's softball. Before this tournament, or before this meeting, I was called with 10 days notice to go to the beach volleyball national championship in Gulf Shores, Alabama. So I went there. These guys handled baseball and softball on the weekend. They flew in on Sunday, I drove up, and here we are. So the positive is football season is slightly easier. Matt doesn't have to be everywhere all the time. The negative is Matt might have to be at beach volleyball sometimes.
Is that a negative? Sorry, I was just saying what everybody else is thinking.
So hopefully this helps. It's a simple Excel spreadsheet. Every year or every semester we just change from spring event to summer event to fall event in the year, and we keep them. It allows us to see. Sometimes you can step back and say, okay, we've got Michael Warner working this whole spring break, so we're going to give him these days off. Make sure he's not getting too, or he's one of our interns.
And he understands if it works that way. You know, I mean, there's
Right.
many times where shit hits the fan, there's 3 people off the flu. We need to come sit in the office and hit record on some games, you know, I mean, and that's not anything taxing, but they understand that. And
Right.
We got good groups, so that helps too. So.
And then everything we do goes through Exos and Exos Thundercloud. You don't have to use Exos and Exos Thundercloud, it just happens to be how we do it. It works out well for us. So Matt, if you can pull up the Exos editing. If you look over here, you've got self-scout, opponent scout, practice, that's football. And you've got recruiting, obviously football recruiting, baseball, and so on. So all those sports go in, and if you click on one of those sports, yeah, this is our miscellaneous, that's good, I'm glad you did that. This is our miscellaneous projects. This is every single game we have for all time for these teams. So if you pick a team at random, let's say Clemson, because we know they're in our conference, offense, defense, here's all the games, click on 2005, let's say. We only have the one game from '05. Yes.
That's fucking awesome.
Thank you.
Because
It was his, to be fair, it was his idea. He won't tell you that, but he's the one who kind of pushed it. And
because of the amount of times where hey, remember we got that film from
X year,
Yeah.
and we put it in, so it's here and here, but it's like I got it for study for the 2015 off-season study.
Right.
But the only thing that's it. That's the only place it's at is 2015 off-season. But it might be like the 2013 season of Florida State.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So now I gotta go search.
What we
Right,
found
yeah.
for us was that there was stuff we were putting in our computer that we didn't know we had. Or we knew we had it, but we didn't know where it was. So we were saying, what's the easiest way? Matt, during the course of a season, will take every conference game and put it not just under Clemson, but under Miami.
Yep.
Now, with conference games, you're getting them from both places anyway. But with Wofford, if there was a Wofford coach, if you go under Wofford 2015, you're going to find that Clemson game. And we may have a couple Wofford games. Well, the special teams coordinator at blah blah state that we're playing next year happens to be from Wofford. Guess what? We have two of their games. We do this for all the sports.
Can I ask? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
At what point did you start doing this? And then how long did it take you at that point that you...
About 4 years ago, I started trying to go back.
Uh-huh.
And then over the course of time, we've just continued to add on as we go. I don't do that much on it now. Matt does most of it. Matt and Kevin are the guys that import the opponent games.
So it's basically as you guys are getting it done, you're
Yeah,
we're
moving
doing
it. It's
it
just a
weekly.
couple extra steps.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's his. Just for example, that's his. He's like a lot of football guys or people who are primary context football. He's loaded on Sunday. Obviously, Sunday is a big. It's a big work day for everybody. He can do that, and he's working on that while somebody else is doing. But he's doing the majority of the games. And so he gets a game, he throws it in Clemson. He also just goes to opponent scout and drop it in.
Do you do the same thing with... Sorry.
No, sure.
I hate to
Keep asking,
hijack this.
Keep asking us.
Do you guys do that for NFL also?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
If you,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, mine's the exact same way for
Is
every
it?
school and NFL team.
Yeah.
What I'm finding now is I'm 3 years in. I started doing this when I took over. What I'm finding out now is 2012 NFL games and college games is now overbearing my server. So then I got to go to our DFO and say, hey, I need a bigger server. And they're like, why?
Exactly.
Because I'm storing footage
From 4 or
from
5 years ago.
2008, 9.
Yeah.
And the longer you're at the university, the more players you're getting to know that want those games. So that's what I'm
That
finding.
We have
I'm
a big
storage
rack of
space.
shelves in the back. And I mean, they're rolling shelves probably from there to there. They stick out 6 feet, and there's shelves every such and such, and you can roll them along. We're not using them anymore because this is our shelves.
Okay.
So what I tell my administration is, one, I don't have to buy DVDs to store things.
Correct.
I don't have to buy tape, whatever. And two, if you have to, you can go back to that 2012 NFL and make it smaller files. We could clean master. Now for football, you're not going to gain much, but we'll show you what we get when we go to baseball and whatnot. So Matt, will you go up to baseball, please? So now we'll go into baseball. Obviously, we have every year. And here's our shared folders. and go into opponents. And there's every opponent we have for baseball. Now, some of these may be empty.
Folder structure's copied over from last year. So
All the teams we play, Kevin has numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So the coaches can find those easily there on top. After that, they're alphabetical. We put the Z in the beginning to keep it alphabetical. So for example, we haven't played Alabama yet, but Matt, if you click on Alabama, those are the Alabama games we have so far. And our coaches can go in and say, all right, well, we're going to play Alabama in a regional. Well, coach, here's 5 games of theirs. They're not even on our schedule.
just to give you an idea of their mindset, at least for baseball too, we put games in here, you see games in there from March. Well, at the end of the day, they may go back and pick at that to find a single pitcher, maybe he didn't pitch too much, maybe he got hurt. But like, just to give you an idea, our 2 assistant coaches of baseball are crazy about video. I mean, they want everything. They want the last series every week if they can get it, which is fine because the majority of the stuff's on ESPN3 or something that we can find. But going back, but the way we see it, and I think the way that kind of most video guys think is if we don't have it, we're gonna have to go searching for it. We got it. We may not use it, but at the same time, that's something that's useful, to us down the road.
You guys are only worried about games, no practices?
We do practices
Yep.
as well.
Yep. Now in the spring, or excuse me, in the fall, they will shoot, and it's actually a tape camera. We gave the managers a camera and said, listen, that's something that we're not gonna be able to cover in the fall with obviously soccer and football, of course. And they'll shoot it. Now those games don't go into the cloud, they don't even go into our system. They kind of put them on DVDs themselves over there, and we said, if that's what you're comfortable with, that's fine, but we want to move away from DVDs as everybody is doing. But they, it works for us. They're never going to be totally happy, as we all know, but we can, if we get a bulk amount of games and we get games throughout the year, early, middle, and into the season, we feel like we've covered our bases in terms of giving them what they want for scouting.
And once again, if we have Alabama, Georgia, we have Georgia, Alabama.
In the other folder, exactly.
Okay?
I'm noticing those files are so large. Are they very,
They're not cut. They're
These are TV copies
yeah,
or,
yeah.
so it's just end to
They're not
end.
cut. Now, what we will do when we get into regionals and stuff like that, we will cut the stuff, and we'll have us and our students
Matt, can you
cut
click on Clemson?
by pitch. And again, those games we could go back and clean master. Now you see some games up there when the play count pops up. You see one's 38 minutes. Obviously that game's cut. It's 11 gigs, but it's cut. You can tell.
Right here.
But again, we'll go through when we get into ACCs and of course into regionals, hopefully super regionals, and we'll punch in data. Now we're not doing anything crazy. It's just batter number, pitcher number. But now you make a folder, players, opponent pitchers. Boom, you can look at that. They're not rifling through games. It's
And
very
this is
easy for them
something,
to see it.
your students come in for football practice, let's
This
say
is what
it's
we
2
were talking about
o'clock,
the other day. Yeah.
right? Football practice starts at 3:45. You send them out at 3, let's say. So from 2 to 3, when they walk in, they can sit down at a station and cut a game. So now, we've got a 38-minute version of this game with every single pitch on it rather
Depends on
than
how
a
much of this is
2-hour,
going on.
52-minute version. And it's cut for both teams. And it didn't cost you anything because that student was going to be there anyway.
And we know that's dependent too on availability, resources. We're lucky enough now that we have an office next door that we don't use as an office. That's basically our student, let's call it our work area, and they'll go in there, we got 5 access computers, they can go in there and edit, whether it be beach, whether it be football, if we get a game that's not cut. And again, that's a luxury for us that, people that have 3 editors in their office and 3, 2 full-times and an intern, well, you're not gonna want a student hovering at your desk all day. We understand that too.
so is you guys' main office in the football office?
We're
We're
the
in the
second
football
floor, they're the
building,
third
they're on the
floor.
3rd, we're on the 2nd. So we're right next to the player lounge.
So the work you
all
do
that.
for baseball, you're doing
Not
at the
for that,
football
not for
office?
the show.
Yes,
Yep.
but this baseball stadium is wired.
Okay.
Yep.
And they're using the Thundercloud. So anything on here, they can access through the Thundercloud. They can get their iPad, download it locally, boom, they're good. Our softball coaches are also wired. They're on the other side of the baseball stadium, wired through fiber. And they can do the same thing. They have a computer. They can make cut-ups, push to the cloud, whatever they need to do. Or we can do it. And we'll just continue to add opponent games, scouting games, whatnot.
Is there ever a time where football practice is going on, a soccer game is going on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They both end at the same time, and you're trying to push practice and the game out at the same time?
And-
Absolutely.
We had
Yep.
the issues in the fall, but since then, we've redone our transcoding server, so we no longer use we had 2 transcode servers that were pushing everything through Thunder Cloud. We eliminated those, and now we have 4 laptops that sit in our server room that do the fast transcode on them.
Oh.
So they can push up the media in almost half the time or less.
I'd say it's about 10 minutes for maybe a 10 or 11 gig game.
It's 5
15
times
minutes.
faster than the other servers. The other servers had 4 channels. So this is 1 channel, but 5 times faster. And anytime you get in that situation, you can always choose, okay, hold these opponent games. I don't need those pushed right away. Here's what's priority.
But there are definitely times where we have, get caught up to other things and we go, oh, there's 15 things in the queue and there's 4 of them big files already processing. Well, now this football practice is going to take 15 minutes extra, 10, 15 minutes extra to get up. But again, we don't have it totally dialed in. There's times where, you get caught doing 5 different things and it slips your mind. But we do a pretty good job of managing it, but that could definitely be an issue for sure, especially if you have.
You prioritize based on what the files are. We prioritize based on, the general rule for us is, if your sport's in season, you're the priority.
Sure.
So that pisses
Yeah.
off football in the spring because
Yeah.
spring ball is
Exactly.
nothing.
Well, I would say football probably gets the priority because football paid for the
Pays
system.
for it.
Exactly.
So,
Don't screw the goose that lays the egg.
but what I would do is
But,
say,
but what I mean by that is, on a given day for spring football this year, we did all of our practices in the morning, which
Right.
meant that didn't interfere with any of the baseball, softball, lacrosse in the afternoon. The only thing that sucked about that was, on any given Friday night, you had baseball, lacrosse, and softball all playing within half an hour of one another. Their
Right.
start times all started within 30 minutes.
Yep.
right.
Now that sucks more so for events and facilities than it does for video.
Right.
Just staffing those. I mean, I already have students assigned to their sport doing that.
One of the
They'll
ways
come
to
back-
beat that we use is we pop. So let's say in the 6th inning, I'll pop my card at baseball. Maybe in the 4th inning at softball. When we did lacrosse, we could pop every time, every quarter.
Okay.
Okay, you input that into the computer and you push it. So now it's pushing the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter before the game even ends. So there's not nearly as much to push. If you've got 4 streams pushing, that stuff will be pushed
Here's kind of
relatively
the kooky
quickly.
part here. So football's the only team using Exos in Fresno State.
Okay.
Everyone's on Hubble, and that's part of our baseline archive and distribution. We have a server and a storage array that's our long-term storage right now, which keeps all the raw HD that's filmed in any event. That also gets pushed up to Hubble. Well then, like lacrosse uses 2 different programs that will do breakdowns for them. Basically, she's playing the numbers because she gets free breakdowns out of it.
Right.
So she's using crossover and she's using Team Extreme. Team Extreme is actually what has to be used per the federation rules. For baseball, the breakdown is the coach wants to see it by pitchers and batters. But then we're also putting in the views of the center field camera looking in and first and third. The home plate camera gets broken down per half inning. So all the pitchers are grouped together, all of our batting is grouped together. Softball is even more in depth where we are recording each pitch individually through the game.
Right.
And then that person has to follow the action whenever the ball does get smacked.
Yep.
Right.
That's interesting to hear about baseball because
Yeah.
that's.
See, we do it by pitch for baseball, but we only do the one angle or the broadcast angle.
We used to shoot high home, for example, and that used to be our coach's copy. They take the ESPN3, feed. It's like it's like you're looking,
So it
you're going up.
really depends on what access you have and what tools you have.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not here to try and convince you to do it my way or do it FSU's way. I'm just saying this is how we do it. We happen to do it through Exos and to the Thundercloud. We also, because we do so much through the Thundercloud, we use like 3 times more storage. So we're going to pay 3 times more for our storage with Exos because we're sending so much to the cloud. So it's a plus minus. But now I'm only billing softball for storage space on the cloud. I'm not billing them for an editing system. I'm not billing them. Now, anything they want to do more particular, they need to do it on their own.
Okay.
We'll provide the video. For example, for soccer, we shoot every game 2 angles. We just have women's soccer. We shoot scrimmages and practices and whatnot. All that stuff goes to the cloud. However, Coach doesn't want the players watching it. Only the coaches watch it.
That sounds like a bad coach.
Well, we've been to the Final Four 8 times out of 10
You would
years,
think
so.
but
I don't argue with
Exceptions to
them.
the rule, but it
Yeah.
still sounds like a bad
But
coach.
it's
Yeah.
it's a weird philosophy to us, at least, and to all of us probably, because
So
what?
here's your end view of soccer.
Our end view is a static camera because I can't afford to have 2 students work a soccer game.
Right.
So one's doing high center, which is the primary.
Yep.
Right.
And then actually every program gets issued at least 1 or 2 HD camcorders. So we'll take that one and we go up in the baseball stadium and shoot from there, but it's just a static shot, giving them that wide view
Sure.
Yeah.
of the whole game.
In the fall, we have a lift in this end behind the gate on the opposite side, and that's where we have one person shooting, we have a sideline shooter, and then we have a capture person. Because we do live capture during the games to the coach's laptop. He'll sit there and tag plays, one of the coaches. At halftime, we drop the laptop down, he goes in the locker room, they meet, they come back out, we pull the laptop back up, plug it back in, capture the second half.
Wow.
Then we have our full copy on a card, on an SD card, that they use to send to Prozone for exchange, or they use to send to Prozone for game breakdown, because it's the same thing with soccer. So,
So are you assigning students to sports? Like, you know, like you said for soccer, it sounds like you got 3 folks working a soccer game.
yeah, we
Yes,
go back to
those-
that original.
Are those 3 folks, like, they do every soccer game, or
No.
do you folks rotate through?
The spring event schedules that we had. This is our event schedule we talked about a couple minutes ago. And basically, we take every single event, write it in here, and assign a student and a full-time person by sport.
Okay.
So for every single home baseball game, there will be at least 2 people. 1 shooter, 1 capture editor.
Okay.
Same with softball. For soccer, it would be 3 people for every game, minimum. Now, sometimes you can put 4, like here, because this kid was coming late, that's why the asterisk, and he's just training.
Okay.
He's learning. So you can put an established kid who was the ML, I'm shooting, I'm CC, and MTP is the new kid.
Gotcha.
But yes, this is how we schedule everything, and everybody doesn't necessarily do every sport, but there is no, I mean, in our office, as far as our
You shoot soccer,
full-time
you
people.
know how to shoot lacrosse, which means you also
Yeah.
basically know how to shoot basketball, because for the
Yeah,
most part, I mean, you're talking about a sport where you're panning back and forth because that's where the goals are at.
well, for the way we shoot soccer is extremely wide in the middle and tighter on the ends, because that's how our coach wants it. But yes, there are some kids that are better shooters, there are other kids who are better with the software, and we'll point them in those directions. Just like, I'm sure if you have some students that film football practice, you don't put the same kid in the same location every single day, because that way if Joey gets sick, nobody knows how to do what Joey does.
I don't assign them to where they go for football practice, but I tell them, do not go to the same place every day.
Yeah,
If you get sideline Monday, do end zone on Tuesday. And it's really up to them. We put the sheets out for what the practice is for football, and it's up to them. The only thing on it is what's marked is the tower number, and then what they're
Oh,
filming.
wow. So they're choosing who shoot, that's interesting. That's cool.
They come in, it's a first come, first serve. I don't assign the cameras. They
Yeah.
come in and grab whatever camera. They just know that they need to format cards. Once they get that sheet, they know what they're filming.
yeah. See, we're much more, I guess, anal than that.
I used to.
Maybe controlling is a better, you know, like, yeah.
But we want to know.
The problem was that I would, you know, the kid, if he end up being late, you know, and he doesn't bother to call, you know, and I, for whatever reason, I assigned that kid to like the big sheet that's doing everything.
Yeah.
Well, now I have to switch it and someone gets all pissed because they had 2 things to film and they were all excited about just hanging out and watching practice. And now they have to work the whole practice. So I just kind of said, the sheets are out, it's first come, first serve. So they all get there as fast as they can.
Because they want to pick it up, yeah,
So they can
absolutely.
pick what they want to do.
We like to have certain kids in certain roles because there are some kids who want to shoot that sideline angle, but they're not ready to shoot that sideline angle.
Yeah.
So we feel like all right, here's our 4 people who can shoot this camera. And Matt, every day, will sit down, he'll have the football schedule, and he'll say, all right, here's camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. You're gonna use this camera, you're gonna use this card, you're gonna shoot from this location, and here's where the drill's gonna
And
be.
it works out well too, because say we're on the B side, or our B side is where towards the stadium, and we have lifts there, right? When we're on the A side, we generally will shoot out the window, the indoor facility. So Matt will schedule people to shoot, hey, maybe, Campo's gonna go out there and shoot end zone on field 1 a lot of days. But now, if he's in the lift, we have somebody on the A side shooting a dummy cam that they can just come in and say, hey, you wanna go out there and shoot? This is what you need to do to get better.
Right.
Look at, put Campos side by side with them and kind of just, here are the main points. So again, sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. It takes them longer. We've had kids come in right away and their first, couple weeks of practice, understand knowledge of football and then just go, and be very successful in 4 years. But we all got the kids who hang around and don't ever really seem to get it for until senior year,
I've had some kids that come in, they learn, and they shoot football great.
Yep.
They couldn't tell you one thing about the sport.
See, that's
They have no
interesting.
idea what a third down is, they don't know who the quarterback is,
Yeah, we
but they
got a
film
kid
like a
like
pro.
that.
Because they were taught that on the sideline, keep all 22 in, keep it tight on the end zone, you're going end to end, you need a couple yards on each side, you need to go with them. But they couldn't tell you one position or what happens in the game, but they film it like they do.
It's good.
Well, Matt, let's go back to Exos, please. So that's kind of how we try and organize it. This is how we try and do the games. Every single sport's going to be different because your coaches are different and they have different needs. So, for example, our softball users are more power users than our baseball users. Our baseball users want to watch a bunch of video on their iPads. They want that video, but they're not as much into, well, I want to see cut-ups. Softball, they're more into that. Soccer, like I said, we shoot, they do all the editing on their end. The only thing we are is a storage and push it to the cloud ability for them.
That's really what we're doing too. We're there, our soccer team is using the pro zone stuff, and that's their bread and butter.
Right.
Our softball team is all over cut-ups every day. Each individual kid getting what they need from that. And like you said, our baseball team's the same way. Yeah, the pitching coach and batting coach, they watch film,
Yep.
but they're not even watching it with the players.
No.
They don't even want the players watching it. And perfect example, 2 years ago, we're pushing all the film on the cloud to everyone on the baseball team. We're on a 15-game win streak, and coach tells one of his assistants to tell me to stop giving the players the film. And that assistant comes to me and says that, and I go, that makes no sense at all. When you're on a streak, everyone knows you don't mess with the situation.
When you
just
get
keep
paid,
doing
what's the head coach getting paid?
Right, so here's what happened. So we said, fine, whatever, he's the head coach, so we stopped sharing to the players, and they lost 10 in a row right after that. Okay, coincidence? Maybe.
Not your circus, not your monkeys.
Right, so it was,
Man,
it
we-
was just one of those things that I'm sitting there going.
We can lead the horses to water, we can't make them drink.
That's right.
And we really can't even make them thirsty, But we can have strategies to provide the best possible stuff, the best possible video.
Well,
If you go down
asked
to
the
beach
coach a question,
volleyball,
though. Why don't you want your players watching film?
that's not my fight.
Well, I asked
So
him,
my job
just
is to
so
get
I can
video.
understand where he's coming from so I can help him. If he gave me a great answer, then it's, okay,
A
good.
lot of times, they don't want it because it's paralysis by analysis. These are answers I've heard from coach. A lot of times, it's that, or our soccer coach would say, I don't want our kids watching these people because they're gonna get cocky. Our kids are better than that team.
Right.
We don't need to see that team go out and trip around against somebody. I'll show them the 5 clips that I want them to see. And a lot of times they'll say, that team's better than us. And I don't want our kids watching that team score 8 goals against somebody that we struggle to beat. I'll show them the parts that they need to see. So I can't give you a coach's answer. I can only tell you
that.
that.
They've given me, and they're terrible. I go, why don't you want your players watching film? And the answer is, well, they don't know what they're watching. And I go, well, then whose fault is that? I go, isn't that your job as a coach to help teach them what they should be watching? Wouldn't that make your film sessions that much more valuable?
Yeah.
And then they kind of stop and go, well, yeah. And I go, so not letting your kids watch film because they don't know what they're watching because you haven't bothered to teach them just seems kind of counterintuitive. At least if you're letting them watch the film, you can give them some pointers here and there. So when you do have a meeting, everything gets a little bit more. It's not just general concepts. You can get into finer points of the game and all of that.
Sure.
I have never heard a coach say what you say, where it's, well, we don't want to get cocky or we don't want to
Yeah.
make the team feel bad. It's always, they don't know what they're watching, and I kind of look at the coach and go, well,
Like I
that's part
said,
of your job.
every coach is gonna be different, and not just from sport to sport, but from coach to coach. We had a soccer coach before that was much different than the soccer coach. He wanted me to shoot a little bit different way. And so, he's the head coach. He tells me the things he wants. I do my best to provide those. That's kind of as far as I go with making the decisions on how they use it. Our beach volleyball, we do the same thing we do for all the other sports. We have our games, we have our opponent games, but with beach volleyball and tennis, what we're gonna do is just give them a camera and a tripod. It's gonna be their responsibility to go set it up. They have tripods and they have little clips if there's a fence. They put their cameras on, they just let them run. Then they bring us the cards, we put them in and we cut it by serve. So every match we play will be cut by serve, just like that.
We'll just roll back 2 seconds from the serve.
Yeah, we'll wait till the ball's in the air and then we'll roll it back 2 seconds. So you can cut it 6 times speed.
Gotcha.
And again, with all your students cutting, these are 45-minute games. It's a pretty quick process. With tennis, it's more points, more serves. You know, it's a little bit
Tennis,
harder.
we're going static. I assigned a student, one to men's tennis, one to women's. So they're at all home matches. They set up all 6 cameras for all 6 courts. They're there to start the doubles. As soon as that's done, I basically say, once singles are up and they start warming up, just turn the camera on because they'll go from warm up to game like that.
Real quick. Yep,
There's
without-
no announcement.
without
It's
warning.
just all of a sudden they are in the match.
Well, and there you go. Our men's coaches do all the stuff themselves.
Really?
We very rarely hear from them. Maybe they'll call us and say, I want a TV in my office.
Wow.
And as you see on this
Yep.
tennis right here, we don't have control over they're little handheld cameras, so if we get this and it looks like they're playing in the clouds, yeah, it is what it is.
But the women want us to get their games and cut them up for them, so they provide us with the cards. Whatever we get, as Kevin said, and then we just cut it up, give them back to them on a drive, or there's any number of ways we could give them back to them.
So I think you guys got a site license for Thunder.
Yes.
That just helps kind of consolidate, keep everything consistent from sport to sport.
It's cheaper. I mean, to be perfectly honest, at Florida State, we do a lot of things for the smaller sports. There's no budget to do. So, for example, they're not giving me a ton of money and saying, go take care of soccer. The camera that I would shoot football with, I'm shooting soccer with.
Yeah.
I've got a wide angle lens that I use at football that's a medium wide, that's perfect for soccer, and that's what I use at home games. So it's really what you have, again, and what you have access to and what your coaches want. I would say that the biggest thing we do and the thing that we do extremely well, I think, is our archival of opponent video. If you can pull up, just pull up beach volleyball, I guess. No, I'm talking about
Opponents. So like the
video.
folder,
The
folder.
folder, the
folder.
opponent, you wanna see the opponent stuff? Archive it.
Okay, there's every year of the program. Masters, we got opponent video, we got our games. There's the opponents. And there's UCLA. Now this is before this weekend. We obviously played them. This is all games that they played that weren't against us. And again, you can see they're cut by serve.
Are the other sports as bad as football where they want to take this on the road, watching the hotel?
Absolutely. And they have ways of doing that. We assign laptops to softball, baseball, and
Beach
beach volleyball. Baseball very rarely even uses their laptop.
Well, I
They'll
think we'll
use the
take
iPads.
on the road for it just to make a game to edit.
So you're downloading the edits, putting in travel mode,
Yep.
you send it off,
Yeah, and not counting on them to do it exactly. Yeah, we're
Right.
actually bagging it for them. And, for softball and baseball, it'd be a student for us. So we have control over who's doing it. Beach volleyball, they have an assistant coach who's essentially their video liaison. and he'll be the one to come and get the laptop, but we'll never.
Are they watching anything on the way back, the match on the way back?
Not usually. This particular trip, it was the end of the season, so they kept one of their computers, and I brought a second computer to the site because I wanted to be able to edit and capture and everything else while they were watching. So we uploaded everything we had on every team onto a laptop for them, put it into travel mode and handed it to them, and we did it again, and I took that one. And then when we come back, we'll just sync them, and it'll go right, all the video will go up to our server, and we're done. So it's three people that do all the sports except for basketball. There's 2 other people that work in our office that do basketball. They're really basketball coaches. I don't know how it is other places, but they're basketball coaches. And then they have full-time assistants, OPS hourly paid assistants, that actually do the video. And they have managers that shoot their games. So there are video guys, but they don't really do any video. They watch it, they watch TV. You know, that's their extent. So it's a little bit different. Huh?
They're not doing cut-ups and breakdowns, they're just.
No, their full-time assistant is doing all the breakdowns and recording of opponent games and that kind of stuff. And again, every staff's different. One staff may have a video guy who's doing more of those cut-ups. Another one, maybe not. I can tell you our men's guy does not, and our women's guy does do some cut-ups. But my point is, it's a different animal. Those guys would never be called and told you need to cover a beach volleyball match.
Yeah.
That's for
How
our
many
office.
sports do you guys have?
We have 22 now, 21. 21, and then men's and women's basketball are, like I say, under our office but separate. So there's 19 that we cover. And it might be anything from, it's not even by the sports. For our office, I mean, we work for the training room. So the trainers want a TV hung in their doctor's office, we'll be doing it. If there's the facilities people want a projection screen set up for a banquet, you know, we try and shy away from that as much as possible. We say, here's your projection screen anytime you need it.
Bye, don't call.
But if there's a TV being hung in the grounds guys lounge, we're probably going to be the ones doing it.
How do you decide which sports? For example, Penn State, we have 31 varsity sports. Does field hockey need this same stuff as tennis and basketball and football?
Really by request, I would say.
Yeah, it's really by request, and the more the requests come in, we've gotten to a point now where we're saying, hey, administration, we're getting requests to film 3 days a week of practice and a scrimmage every day in the off season for soccer. If you want us to do that, we need to hire more people. And we need to hire more people, not just students, but full-time people, because I can't teach a student to do what Kevin does or what Matt does. I mean, it takes years for them to get good at what they're doing. So I'd like to see these guys get paid, so they're not looking around going, hey, I'd like to go somewhere and get paid. But that's our leverage point to say to our hey, most teams aren't getting this for beach volleyball. We're doing this. This is the reason you should increase our staff. This is the reason we should get more money in our budget. Because our beach volleyball team was second in the country this year. Now, we're not going to make any money off that. The university's not going to, you know, oh, well, we're in the black now, guys, beach volleyball. But it doesn't hurt, and it didn't cost them anything, really. But if they want to continue to get this, it's going to cost them a little bit. When I say it doesn't cost them anything, really, what I'm saying is we're making a gender equity issue. Football's getting exos. So are all the women's sports, men's sports. The women's sports go on the road. If it's soccer, I might be there. Same guy who shoots a football game might shoot a soccer game. Example was we were at the national championship a couple years ago in Miami. We played the semifinals, won. The next game came up. I shot that, gave all that to the coaches, got in a van, drove to Charlotte. The football team played the ACC championship game that night. We won, got in the van, drove down to Miami, The next day at noon, the soccer team played for the national championship. Same guy, same camera. So you can't say it's a gender equity issue because same guy's doing it, same staff. Now, I'm very fortunate to be able to do that because I know that guy and that guy are going to cover football. I'm not going to get a football coach going, what the hell?
How come you're not here? I need my hand
Because
down,
these guys
my ass.
are great.
There's also plenty of times where he'll be shooting football practice knowing damn well that there's a 6 p.m. soccer game. Well, we practice at 3:50, I think, about every day during the season. He may go out there and shoot up until, let's say, the last break. And me or Matt or some, and I'm generally inside. I'm not going to paint a picture of me being outside often because I'm not. But go out there and cover him. You know, go out there and cover him. He'll go over to soccer. He'll banners. You know, so we know we do it different. You know, and we know it's not the same. But
We tell our kids it's the mom and pop store mentality. It's not, you're not working at McDonald's. If you go to McDonald's and you work from 6 to 10, and at 10 o'clock you get out and you go, I didn't clean the fryer. The next guy's got to clean it. In our shop, if you don't clean the fryer doesn't get cleaned. So it's very much a group effort and a team mentality amongst the staff.
See, I'm the only full-timer and I got 19 sports. And I got 2 more coming online next year. What I've done is,
You tell your administrators you freaking need to get in the game or out of the game.
exactly.
Seriously, why? I mean, that's seriously
well,
what it comes
all the
down
students,
to.
none of them are hourly,
I
they're all on
know,
a stipend.
sucks.
And we assign a sport to them. Hey, every kid gets 2 sports assigned. So, my kids also kind of, I let them double dip. What I mean by that is they'll go work for the Mountain West Network, the streaming events. So the kids that I know are gonna do that, I'll give them fall and spring sports so they can work television for all the basketball.
Sure.
So everyone comes on for football because football is the monster and it needs the most help. But then someone will have volleyball and baseball. Someone will have soccer and lacrosse, sports that are happening away from each other so they're not kind of butted up.
Right.
My football guy makes the most. After that, it's my basketball guy just because he goes straight from football right into basketball season.
Right.
And he keeps going. But as soon as basketball season's over, I still pay him for another 2.5 months, even though he does nothing.
Now,
Because-
the way Florida State does it, they went through and they said, we used to do, you got paid for 15 hours every week. So you knew you could make bank on, I'm gonna get paid this much per week, this much per month, this much per year, and then we just worked Kevin like a
I
dog.
would say or 12 because that's what I got. So.
All right,
15,
there we are.
15, I can only dream of that.
8 and 7 and 8 hours and 9 equals 12.
Yeah.
Here you go. But now, we went through and we talked to some folks and said, look, we gotta pay these kids. So we start them out at $9.50 an hour, and if you work 5 hours, you get paid 5 hours. You work 10, you get paid 10. We won't work any students really more than 20, 25 hours a week, just because it's too hard on them academically. When I say 25, that might be like a spring break week, or 2-a-days, or something like that.
We kind of put it in their court a little bit too and say, we always have stuff to cut on a video,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. You want some more hours? Come on in. You know, you're gonna need that money, come on in because we'll put you to work. You're not gonna sit next door and do
You
nothing.
guys haven't run into the whole your athletic department's worried about having to pay benefits if they work too many hours per week.
Well, just because they don't, they're not going to get to that many hours. If they were getting to 35 hours and it became an Obamacare issue, I would probably get a lot more nasty emails that I would have to delete.
Well, the CSU.
But if they're
is
working
throwing out
that-
they don't want students on campus working on anything campus more than 22 hours a week.
Right, and then
Which-
very,
which-
like I
which
said,
creates- Which creates its own set of problems during the fall when you've
So-
got football practice and you have volleyball games and soccer games.
There's a way to fix that. We're the same way, 20 hours a week, there's a way to fix that. With scholarship, pay their tuition.
Well, and that's the
And
thing.
then they
That's why
take the
it's-
class, the NCAA has to, you have to take a class, it's mandatory.
right.
And all our managers that get tuition are in that class. And that's how you get around and away from that.
We make that a
Honestly-
reward.
Honestly, the tuition is actually cheaper than paying them $10 an hour. You can get a heck of a lot more out of that.
We're not allowed to
We did
give
that years
tuition.
ago.
And here's why, because we're not allowed to give out of state.
I got you.
So our scholarship
So everybody's
is room and
different,
board
sure.
money.
Yep.
They get money.
Sure.
So that's a reward for our kids that have been working and doing a good job, that we can count on to go on trips. We'll say, okay, this is your 3rd year, we'd like to put you on the scholarship. so they can get room, board, books, but we can't do tuition for that reason. But it also greenlights it, because they are paid hourly. We have kids that go to Tallahassee Community College,
Right.
or we have a kid that's graduating that isn't taking classes but wants to work another
Just paid
semester.
hourly, but, you know, it's a
Great.
great system.
We had a young lady this semester that all her classes were in the afternoons, every single day. But she's worked, she's great. So she came in 3 mornings a week and would cut stuff, and she'd come in at night, and she'd work weekends. Worth keeping her, and she still got paid her money. As much as she wanted to work, she could work up to a certain level. If anybody was working 35 hours a week that we hadn't approved, we would have to talk to them and go, hey, tap the brakes.
And I know in the Commonwealth, that would be quite the same thing, because I know with my student staff at Old Dominion, if I can,
Yeah.
last couple minutes, I have like a small PowerPoint, just
I'm
one
sorry, I've
page
been talking
PowerPoint.
this whole time.
Dang
No
it, Campo.
problem. No worries, no worries. But Campo pretty much covered most of it. I know for a school like Old Dominion, like myself, which is especially FCS Division II, Division III, we're pretty much par for the course for the majority of us. Started out 2008. I was the first director, video guy of any kind. So walking in after being in Memphis for 11 years in some shape, form, or fashion. Now I got my head job, and now it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because here it is, I have 18 sports. None of them had ever had a video coordinator of any sort. So now I have some people still on tapes, some people still on DVDs, some people, this was 2008, so I still have some people mini DV, and I have some people that were still on beta. So now being able to consolidate all of that into one entity and being able to serve 18 sports. One of my things that I have for all my staff people, when they first start, I have these things called the 12 Commandments. And the reason why it's 12 is not because, unlike the 10 Commandments, not because we're more important than God, it's because we need to pay more attention. So that is why I have it as 12.
I like that.
Usually the first rule, take the lens cap off. I cannot tell you how many times I've asked staff members, would sit there and they would get ready to film and they're like, oh, I can't see that, it's black. Is your lens cap off? And my thing is this, we actually test the guys on this. We actually test our staff on this. Edit the video for the audio first. Nobody wants to watch video with bad audio. Case in point, when you watch your favorite program and the emergency broadcasting system comes on, normally what do? You change the channel before it goes off. Achieve the objective. Whatever is the design task for you for that day, we expect you to achieve it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, I've had staff members that may have to jump through hoops. Case in point, I need an XLR cable to a 1/4 inch. All right, they go in there. We have a cord that's dedicated XLR to 1/4 inch. Now, they may not find it. They may find the RCA. Okay, I can do an RCA to an 1/8 of an inch, to the 1/8 of an inch, to a 1/4 inch, to a 1/4 inch, to XLR. They still achieve the objective.
Yep.
So they still get points for that ingenuity. I need people who can think on their feet, who has critical thinking skills. When we do our interview process, can you think critically? Well, the first question we ask them, are they afraid of heights? If they are afraid of heights, thank you for coming. We have partner guests at the door. But being able to think critically and under time duress is very important to us. Number 4, protect the camera at all costs. It is easier to replace you. I've had staff members, because in a school like us at Old Dominion, we don't have the budget to go out and buy cameras every year. Matter of fact, God bless, knock on wood, all the cameras we've had, this year will be the 6th year we've had them. Now granted, we have to go buy all new cameras again, but the thing that I am proud to say that we've only lost like 2 out of about a half a dozen. Out of a dozen. Number 5, keep a nickel with you at all times. My staff knows this is one of the things I live in pride on, because I have one actually in my back, in my wallet. Because anytime that they run around, okay, well, we got to get a camera, we got to get a tripod. How we gonna put the plate on? Where's your nickel? So I always tell them, keep a nickel, because usually, like the little Miller, I know some of y'all might have gotten the little Miller twist keys, it's the same width as a nickel. So if you have a nickel with you, you always have a reason, a way to be able to put your tripod on and off. Number 6, memorize my phone number by heart, pick up when I call. We are a very mobile centric, and I love the schedule that you had for it. With us, my kids, because I have like all millennials that just think that they have some problem of looking, they don't know what Excel is, they think that it's some kind of foreign thing with squares and you can color code and all that. What we do is we put all of our stuff Google Docs. So everything is on their phone. Every update, every push notifications, I don't know is how good the sound is on this camera, but you might have heard my phone buzzing about at least a half dozen times this meeting because of all the push notifications that we put in. Like right now, our lacrosse team for the first time since 1999 has now made the NCAA championship. They won the Atlanta Sun. So which means now Friday, we're gonna have a game at Townsend. So I don't know if the guy from Townsend is there. I know he's an all-sport guy too.
Yeah.
So I may be joining him. Actually, I may just ride back with him. But we're trying to make adjustments, things of that nature. We have a baseball home series. We're going back. I'll call him back. That's my supervisor, I'll call him back. Was asking about, how we're gonna cover baseball now with the students being off staff. I said, we've already planned it. That's why, again, we keep everything mobile. And one of the things that we have is for each of our sports, we are on Huddle. I have all 18 sports on Huddle. I also have band. I have the dance team. I have the cheer team. I have all of them on Huddle, especially with band because of the fact that football field, they do formations, so we have planograms. I know David has been real great at Huddle as far as feedback, like for example, my swimming and diving coaches. The diving coach was just ecstatic at the fact that he finally had a software that had, inward tuck, 3.5 somersault, and then degree of difficulty, things like that. Huddle is a great tool for us, for Old Dominion. Huddle was a great tool for us to be able to give for each individual sport, and then Huddle was able to go back and forth. Hey, what do your coaches need? What stats do they want? We can enter that in. Kind of like with football with the Exos. Unfortunately, with us, it was kind of a catch-22 thing because we had those sports that resented football being able to show up all of a sudden and now getting all the money to do. You can't tell donors how to give. So we have those people that was given that never given before. So that being said, but football has been the tide that lifted all the boats. That being said, Exos, ours was on. I don't know. Do you have Exos Lightning? I know we have like an Exos Lightning, and with our Lightning, it allowed them to be able to load into Huddle. So with that, having that joint package, that allowed me to get all our sports in the Huddle.
Yeah, we used
Going back, number 7, love favorites to prepare. Check your camera settings before shooting. White balance, things of that nature. Of course, most of our staff are kids, so they like to do kid things, especially the first year guys. They out there on the football field, they see the green grass, they smell the aroma, and they're like, oh man, I'm here part of the D1 program. So before practice, they want to go out there with the managers and the trainers athletic trainers, and catch the football around. I don't have any problems with that. Just make sure when you go out there, set up your camera. Now, Wendell, I don't see him here. Wendell can testify to this. One of the things that I used to do on purpose, I would say something intentionally wrong in the beginning before they would go out, just to see if they was testing through, going through our proper protocols and procedures. Now, they may have hated me for it for the first 2 or 3 years, but there was going to come a time I'm not going to be around. And when that time comes, I need you to be able to know what to do. And so that allowed them to maximize that. Number 8, do not reinvent the wheel. Roll with the ones you got. Sometimes we make things bigger than what it is. Breathe. Like sometimes you'll have a coach come in and say, hey, I want this shot, because usually coaches are coaches. They think in the moment. Usually we have to think ahead for the coaches. So don't reinvent the wheel. If coach comes in and say, hey, I want you to see if we can shoot with this angle, this angle, this angle. All right, coach. Well, already he wants us to cut up. All right, we're just going to sit here. We just time code everything, cut it up, split it 3 ways, and then export it. Done. Number 9 for my staff, no credential, no work. If you do not have your credential, you will not be working. If you do not work, you will not get paid. And if you do work and you do not turn in your time sheet, again, we do everything mobile, so everything's on everything's on notifications. Then you have just, under the Commonwealth, you have just volunteer your hours to the Commonwealth. Thank you. Number 10, you cannot negotiate with the Sun. We have this problem with our lacrosse and our field hockey teams. They decided, well, we're going to build a building. All right, in this building, okay, what side? I said, what side does the sun rise? That's like, why is that important? Because the last thing you want your coach to do is be sitting up there looking like this throughout the game because she can't see because the sun is setting when the game is going to be at 3:34 p.m. Oh, we didn't think of that. It's on the side where the sun is shining in the eyes. Those things are important. We had gotten the drone from DJI, and the baseball coach said, hey, I want to get a nice drone shot of my practice field. We want to get that for our recruiting video. Coach, what time do you want to do it? Oh, I want to do it between 8:30 and 9 in the morning. Coach, we can't do it. Why? Can't negotiate with the sun because everything that you want to see is going to be in shadows. We'll have to do it 3:34 p.m. Well, I can't do it during there because we're going to have practice for the staff. That's where being flexible, being able to adapt. Okay, coach, can we come in on a Saturday? You know, on the day where you guys are either going to be on the road or the mandatory one day off that each of the student athletes is supposed to be off. Can we run it in? Yes. All right, coach, no problem. We'll get it taken care of. Monday morning, it'll be on your desk. Number 11, know your fail-safes for everything that we do, whether it's recording on memory cards, HMR 10s. We try to have fail-safes in place because things are going to break. Things are going to happen. Tripods are going to fall apart. This is not even dealing with just the game stuff that can happen in the game. Equipment failures, having fail-safes and knowing what those fail-safes are will always keep you out of trouble, out of the coach's trouble. Last but not least, if all else fails, reboot, especially dealing with computers, things of that nature. Oh, it doesn't work. Have you rebooted it? Oh, okay. That is all. That's our time. Thank
I
y'all.
apologize, I talked way too long and kept him up here, but thank y'all for coming.
Yeah.